Okay. Hello, listeners. I'm so excited to be here on the second episode of our new program series, Fiscal Interventions and Economic Growth on our Get Ready Communications. I remain Titilola Ubushono, your host. Today, I'm excited because we'll be discussing a very burning issue, which borders on the latest, recent tax reform bill in Nigeria. Okay, in a bid to overhaul the Nigerian landscape in order to drive economic growth, increase revenue generation, improve the business environment, and enhance tax effective, administration across the different levels of government. Our president on the 26th of June 2025, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed the 4 tax reform bills into law. The laws include the Nigerian Tax Act, known as the NTA, the Nigeria Revenue Service Act, the NRSA, the Nigeria Tax Administration Act, the NTAA, the Joint Revenue Board Act, the JRBA, and these all the 4 laws collectively referred to as the Act. So today, I'm so happy, I'm excited, I'm elated to be joined by a distinguished guest, someone who I respect a lot, who has a lot of depth and depth on this subject matter. And I'm sure that our listeners will be learning a lot from him today. He's no other person than Dr. Yusuf Ainosoyebo. Okay, like I said, I would like to give a brief citation of who Dr. Yusuf Ainosoyebo is. Presently, he is a senior lecturer and the sub-dean of the Faculty of Management Sciences at Lagos State University, Nigeria. He holds a PhD in finance from Olabisi Onabanjo University. And he has a master's. His master's was in finance from the University of Lagos. And interestingly, yes, he has his first degree from my own alma mater, where also I had my first degree at Lagos State University. He had a first class, a BSc in banking and finance. And it's interesting to notice academic progression because Dr. Shoyebo started from the Polytechnic. Okay, he had his ordinary national diploma, but what we see as he went on in life is that he started with a distinction grade at the ND level. Dr. Shoyebo started his bank, now the Ikorodu Microfinance Bank, and he also proceeded to the Indo Merchant Bank, now part of Sterling Bank. Okay, and he has started from the industry before he came back to the academia. So you just like I did. Okay, I always find him very interesting, because he has a lot. No wonder he has a lot of depth and depth. Okay, and he has, before he came into the Lagos State University in 2011, and since he has built a reputable academic and professional profile, he also has professional certifications. He is a fellow. He's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Banking, the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, the CIBN. Okay, and it's also interesting to note that, of course, not unexpected, Dr. Shoyebo emerged as the best student in financial economics, okay, and the overall best intermediate category in the 2009 Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria examination. So you can see that Dr. Shoyebo he's a very detailed person. He's someone that's passionate about learning, about growth, and you can see that that's why a lot of students are also respecting a lot. And that at any program that has got to do with youth development, career advancement, talking about finance, world of finance, that will not find Dr. Shoyebo. So please, I want to, humbly, excitedly welcome Dr. Yusuf Ainosoyebo. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you very much, my host. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm glad to be on your program.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm already excited. You can see me grinning from here already because I know there's a lot to learn from you. Okay, now just like I said during my intro about the latest and most burning issue, that's the latest tax reforms that have been a question on the mind of non-financial experts. to say, okay, what does this mean to the layman? Okay, that even for those in the finance space, they're trying to digest the complexity of the finance law to know the implications in various aspects. So I'll start with my first question, Dr. Oshoyebo. What are your thoughts on the recent tax reforms in Nigeria? And what would you say the objectives are?
Thank you very much. To start with, tax is compulsory, just like every major things in life. And the recent reform in Nigeria represents a bold step, a step in the right direction, and a much needed reset in our fiscal system. For decades, Nigeria has been lagging behind, with a tax to GDP ratio that lingers around 10%, which is far, far below the average of 18 to 16%. And this reform is a step in the right direction that came in to help broaden the tax base, strengthen compliance, and boost revenue generation. We all know that this has been major challenges facing every administration in Nigeria, and the government is doing this in a way that will align with economic equity. So in terms of objectives, there are basically three according to the law. The first one is simplification, because we want to ensure that we consolidate over 50 tax law into 4 major ones. That's just like rightly reiterated. This will help us to reduce ambiguity and improve administration. Similarly, in terms of equity, or what you can refer to as equality, through progressive tax income, some SME, category of SME are exempted, and zero rating of essential goods under value-added tax is to ensure that those in that category will not be overburdened and they will be able to provide essential services in the economy. Then the last aspect of it is digitalization and enforcement. See, the emergence of the Nigerian Revenue Service will, with stronger power and embracing digital tax tools, will help the government to achieve a lot of things, such as reduce or minimize tax evasion, tax avoidance, and leakages. And these are the steps that will help the government to get things right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Oshoyebo. Like I told you, listeners, it's loaded. There's a lot within that short space that he has said, that whether we like it or not, according to Dr. Oshoyebo, this is the right step in the right direction. For those agitated, we should know that the tax to GDP ratio in Nigeria is 10%, which is far below the average, globally. From what he has said, the average should be around 18%, but in Nigeria it's 10%. And the objectives, it's that the government needs to broaden the tax, place. We need to strengthen compliance to achieve economic equity. And part of the objectives, for those that have been asking me, now you can listen to from the experts, is that part of the objective is simplicity, equality, utilization, and enforcement. And this is one thing that previous administration have been battling with in Nigeria, the issue of tax avoidance, tax evasion, and also the fact that a lot of people do not even come into the tax bracket. So from what you have heard from the experts, it is not something that can be delayed. There will be someone that will build the cart, which our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has finally built the cart, the step in the right direction. Okay, now I want to take you up from here. Okay, Dr. Oshoyebo. Now, there's some of the notable aspects of the tax reforms. Include a lot of them, but they include the taxation of capital gains at the same rate of a taxable person. Presently, the capital gain is taxed at about 10%, while the capital income tax is set to remain at 30% among others. Now, I want to ask you, okay, can you speak to the possible implication of these, as well as some other key parts of the reforms, because it's bulky. People want to know what the highlights are.
Thank you very much. Indeed, major milestone after the government, because taxing capital gain at the same rate as taxing corporate income depart from the former flat rate of 10%, which really said. This move has both physical and behavioral implications. Firstly, equality or equity in taxation. It will ensure capital income are taxed similarly, just like business income, and it will discourage tax arbitrage as well as wealth concentration, which has been the practice before now. Also, investor sentiment. It will also deter speculative investments that affect capital, unbalanced incentive, as of other key that have a turnover that is less than 100 million or fixed asset that is 30 million, is to encourage them to develop, because they have been accepted for either CIT, CGT, or even other developmental tasks. It is to encourage them so that they can have more things to concentrate on, and commitment will improve on their own side. Also, the digitalization is the order of the day, such that online platform and digital asset holder are now covered in the tax bracket. They are not included under the tax net in order to close the long-standing gap that have been in existence before now. The development levy, instead of the fragmented sectorial levy that has been in existence before now, now what we have is a consolidated 4% levy that is applicable to larger businesses. These activities, this provision shows a clear, deliberate shift from taxing volume to taxing value and capacity by the government, which, like I said, is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Soyebo. You have mentioned a lot of selling points, and among which we are going to mention is that the online platforms are now included. So it's the right time, like you've said. So it means that prior to this time, all the online platforms stored in the tax net. Is it safe to say that?
Yes.
Now, prior to this administration,
yes,
all the online platforms have been operating tax-free. They've been operating, getting all of those income without them being taxed in Nigeria.
Yes.
Wow, that's exactly. a huge leakage. I agree. That's a huge leakage, and that's economic implications. A lot of economic implications for us. Okay, and you also mentioned the consolidated 4% levy applicable to larger firms, and now you are talking about taxing capacity and volume. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Soyebo, for this explicit.
You're welcome.
So for those that have been asking us, now you see the highlight, you can know the implications for this. This is going to be a safe keep on our website because it's coming with a lot of valuable information. Okay, now I would want to take you up. Now, you said something I like. You said even the 10% flat fee, all of these things, we have fiscal and behavioral implications. Now, I want to take it on the implications for a particular set of the economy, because research has proven that in every economy that the micro, small, and medium enterprises create in some regions, continents, about 90% of the jobs. But the government sector alone cannot give jobs to the people. Reform, even a fiscal intervention reform in terms of tax reform, it means that it's going to have large implication on the MSMEs. So how would you say these reforms will impact MSMEs? And remember I said that they're very critical, because they provide in some continent about 80% of the job. Now, how do you think these reforms will have impact on the MSMEs and majorly the informal businesses in the Nigerian economy?
Thank you very much. One thing I would like to emphasize here is that, you see, the MSMEs, especially the small and micro aspect of it, they are the foot soldier of invention and creativity in modern economy. And then an economy that wants to prosper and be among the League of Nations must not overburden them, because doing that will create a bottleneck for them. Before now, they have been overburdened, but this reform give them breathing space, as it's largely a what we call MSME friendly, which is intentional on the part of the government, because exempting qualifying MSME from corporate tax and capital gain, lower the cost of doing business, and promote formalization. We all know that virtually all of them, none of them is readily available to support them. So for example, they are active because once majority of their return will be taken away by government, then it will discourage further production.
Okay.
Because it is the extent of then informal businesses are encouraged to register, given the clear threshold and potential benefits. Because the exemption of businesses with turnover below 100 million is a bold stroke, as it reduces barrier and attracts the into the fold. Also, physical tools are will now complement this exemption in terms of access to credit, energy reform, and simplify filing system. However, there will still challenges in some aspects because many of these businesses still lack clarity and trust in tax institutions. There is a need for them to be thoroughly engaged and addressed so that they can have the required capacity building that will ensure that they will key into this reform. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Sheyebo. I'm enjoying myself, and I like the way you captured it. You said what you see is that this is MSME friendly. And it's true, because exempting them from capital gain, the exemption of them from anybody whose turnover is less than 100 million is going to speak a lot. And you've said that the extent of their input, will determine out. So we didn't, of course, exempting them would people to invest in that space. And I agree that to say that once they invest more, as economists will say that when people invest more and you can produce more, when investment increases, the level of employment increases, then going to have a multiplier effect on the economy. There will be higher income, higher saving, higher spending, business expansion, and exactly economic growth. Okay. Now, and I like what you said that again, simplified filing system. Because there are people realize are not the elite, even for those of us that are educated, within that space, what the tax, rules, regulations are. I've seen MSME struggle with the fact that they don't know they have to remit VAT is done monthly on a monthly basis. They don't know that the yearly returns is done at a particular point in time before they don't even know those things. I think that there should be more of, what do you think that should be more of education, and it will be enlightenment. Exactly.
Building for them. Yeah.
Exactly, across various channels, not just the regular TV stations,
not just radio or television. The most appealing channel to them.
Yes, the most engaging channels. And you mentioned something, I want to take you up on that. You said that the truth is, whether I like it or not, people have that kind of trust, not 100% trust in the tax reform, not 100% trust in government. So what do you think government can do in this regard? Because whether I like it or not, if I don't trust the system, I can't get me into that space.
Sure. You see, one thing about government operation is about what I refer to as PPP. People, politics, and power. The government has the power. The power was given to them by people, and the people believe that once they give power to the government must make policies that will shape their world. So it takes time for government to gain the trust of the community or of the people. So when you believe that the implementation of the law does not serve the greater number of people or the greater number of their interests, no matter the extent of the communication, the trust will be broken down. So government needs to be clear to them in terms of this award, and it's all about promises.